little bit about my schedule. Maybe I give you a little bit of some insight into some of the things that I'm doing to stay motivated and some of the things that I'm doing to, just keep my mindset right. So since day one of this quarantine, since everything that was going on, I made sure that I'm still waking up at the same time every morning. So every morning I set my alarm for 6:15. I wake up, I work out, whether it's going for a run or doing a workout. I worked out in my driveway yesterday. I'm doing whatever I can to work out. I went for a 10-mile bike ride this morning. I'm doing whatever I can to stay in that routine. I'm staying in my breakfast routine, staying in my morning routine, and making sure that I'm coming down into my office in my house to get my day started at the same time. Then I have my daytime routine, right? Just like all of us, we have our work routine and the things that I'm focusing on, the things that are most important. And then I have my routine throughout the day. So at 1 or 2 o'clock every single day, as part of the things I'm doing to try to stay healthy, I go for a walk for 3 or 4 miles, and I take my phone calls. I listen to audiobooks, or I listen to a podcast. And I do that while I'm walking by myself, not around other people, but just trying to get out a little bit, get some happiness, and just trying to keep my health up. Then I have things that I do at night. I try to get into a routine of eating dinner at the same time. I try to do some things that make me happy, that keep me relaxed, whether that's watching TV or whether that's reading a book or, anything in between there. So, and then I have my nighttime routine as well. And I think that's important to have a wind down routine at the end of the day, to wind down your day, to prepare for the next day, to come up with the 3 important things that you're going to be focusing on for the next day so you're prepared, and have a little bit of break between all the stuff you're doing during the day and all the stuff that you have, between the time that you end your day and go to sleep at night, because you have to have a little bit of break there so you can get a good night's sleep and start over again. And if you just change your habits by a little bit, if you just change the things that you're doing a little bit now, they are going to have a compound effect later on down the road. Whether, that's just a principle that goes, that's always in place, whether that's investing a little bit every year, whether that's saving a little bit every year, whether that's taking a few less calories every single day. The compound effect of you making little changes every single day in your lives will have effect down the road. And that's why the things that we're talking about now and the things that we've always been talking about doing these things are going to be what has a compound effect on you later down the road when we get out of this, new normal that we're in, and we get back to somewhat of a sense of normalcy. You're either going to be starting from ground zero again if you don't do the things that you should have been doing all along, or you're going to have some traction and you're going to have some things that are in place already. So when the time comes, you're off to the races rather than starting from ground zero again. That's the reason why you're doing the things you're doing now. You may not be feeling the effects of those things now. You may not be seeing the results of your efforts right now, but I promise you, if you're not putting in the effort right now, if you're not doing the things that you should be doing to develop your business, to get organized, to plan in your business and in your life, you're going to have a harder time getting the momentum again once everybody else is back in motion, and you're going to be falling farther behind everybody else and the people that have been doing the right things. So just a couple more topics. So this is going to be the great equalizer, and everybody's been talking about this being the great equalizer. This is setting everybody at the same ground level again. And now is going to be the time for the people that are standing out from the crowd, the people that are coming up with creative and new ways to do business, more efficiencies, new ways to do marketing, new ways to get in front of people. They're the ones that are going to take more market share when things go back. So this is the great equalizer. We don't have anything in our schedules right now that is stopping us from doing things, right? We all literally have a clear slate. None of us have anything to do. Well, I shouldn't say none of us. We all have some stuff to do, but we don't have as much stuff to do. We don't have as many distractions as we typically have in a given day. So your schedule for all intents and purposes is basically clean, right? You get to decide the things that you put in your schedule. You get to decide the Zoom calls that you want to be on. You get to decide whether you want to put a workout routine in the middle of the day, or whether you want to go do something fun or watch a movie in the middle of the day, or whatever the things are. You get to decide what goes in your schedule now. Nobody else is controlling your schedule now except for you. So make sure you're using this time to put the things in the schedule that are making you happy, that are moving your business forward, and that are moving your lives forward, because you're going to eventually start to build a habit around this stuff. And when we come back to work or whatever in a month or 2 months or 6 months, who knows how long it's going to be, the things you do now are going to build the habits for you in the future. So my question for you is, what do you want the end of this to be the beginning of, right? At the end of this, what is this the new beginning of for you? So if you were living a passive life before, you know, in your business, in your life, in your workout, and your eating, and your traveling, and your things that make you happy, and the things you want to do, if you're being passive about that stuff, now's the time for you to be active. Now's the time for you to make the decision to be the person that you want to be. You know, it's funny. There's a quote that I you know, always thought was funny that I heard. I forget who said it, but I always thought it was funny, and now it's more relevant than ever. And the quote is, you never know who is swimming naked until the tide goes out. And I always thought that was like a funny quote, and it's so relevant now because, you know, there's a lot of people that you think were living these great lives and that had everything that you possibly wanted. And now when the tide goes out and things are revealed, it's not what you thought it was, right? So that quote is very relevant now. And I want to leave you with 3 more quotes that I've been pondering, that I've been thinking about, and then I'm going to turn it over to Jeremy. So 3 quotes. Number 1, you do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems and habits. So we all set goals at the beginning of the year or at the end of last year. And, you know, this obstacle that we're all facing now, it could put a damper in that, or it could make our goals go even faster, right? We could end up better in the 3rd and 4th quarter than we thought we were going to be. But it's only going to be like that if your systems are in place, if your habits are in place. Next quote is, the goal is not what differentiates the winners from the losers. It's the habits and the systems. And I know that's very similar to the last quote, but what we're talking about, what I'm talking about, is no different than what I've been talking about for the last couple of years. If you're doing the right things, if you have the right habits, if you're living your life the way you want to be living it, if you're content, if you've been doing the right things all along, which we talked about, building wealth, passive income, investment properties, like those are the things that are really, you know, important right now. And, you know, a lot of our parents taught us when we were kids is to, you know, put money away for a rainy day, right? This is the rainy day, guys. This is the rainy day we've all been waiting for. You know, our parents told us since we were kids. And a lot of us in our businesses, we talk about putting money away for reserves, and our personal lives, putting money away for reserves. And, you know, in business, we try to teach you should have 3 to 6 months worth of operating expenses in your bank account at all times. This way, if your business ends up doing 0 revenue for 3 to 6 months, you have enough money in your bank account to cover the cash flow of your business for 3 to 6 months, so your business doesn't go out of business, right? A lot of people don't have that backstop that if they run out of money in their bank account, they can put more money back in. Like whatever you have in your bank account, that's it. And that's the reason why we talk about putting money in reserves. So if you haven't been preparing for a rainy day, if you don't have that money in reserves in your bank account, it's okay. This is not the last time in your life or in your career that an obstacle like this is gonna present itself. Now's the time to change those habits. Now's the time to prepare for the next rainy day. You know, it might be too late to prepare for this rainy day, but it might not be too late to prepare for the next one. All right, I'm gonna leave you with one last quote, then I'm gonna turn it over to Jeremy. We cannot change what we are aware of. And once we become aware, we cannot help but change. So what we're all going through now has brought to light a lot of things that we may not have been aware of before. Now we are aware of these things. Now we have to change our habits. If for the real estate agents on this call, if you got in the business in the last 5 or 6 years, no offense to anybody, but you were basically an order taker for all intents and purposes. There was a certain amount of business that was coming to you just because of who you are. It was coming to you by accident, not because you were going out and being aggressive and doing certain things. Well, that faucet for a lot of people is shut off right now. And it can be turned back on by you being purposeful and going out and changing the things that you're aware of, right? There's a lot of things we're aware of in our personal life, in our business life, about what makes us happy, what we're fearful of. And now's the time to make the changes of those things. Now's the time to use your resources to your advantage. And now's the time to take action. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Jeremy. He's going to talk for a minute and then turn it over to Howard Siegel to talk about how you guys can be resourceful to take advantage of the stimulus package and all the so,
sounds good. Thanks, Noah. I'm going to keep this quick because Noah just crushed it and nailed it on what we need to do in this marketplace. So number one, right now, I tell people in life, there's two things that are beautiful things about life. If money wasn't a factor, what would you do? That option isn't that good right now. The second one is, if you had time on your side, what would you do with it? Let me repeat that. If you had time on your side, what would you do with it? This is the perfect time to take advantage of cleaning up your database. This is the perfect time to set up your everything you ever want to set up in technology, events, anything. This is the perfect time to be doing that. It's a perfect time to reconnect with your center of influence, people you have not called that you know you should have called, but we've all dropped the ball sometimes and not made calls. Everybody wants to hear from somebody. The second thing is I want to recommend before we get over to Howard is take advantage of education. I did a shift class today, gaining control over the market, and one of the 10 tips was education. This is the time to take advantage of education. We had over 13 classes this week alone on Zoom. This is a time to take advantage of those classes. And when you do, please take action with us. Twice a week, we're doing lead generation classes. And here's a lead generation class. It's just staying in front of your center of influence. And I want to leave you with this thought. If you don't call your center of influence, they're watching the news. Do you want your center of influence to listen to some negative news, or would you rather listen to your beautiful voice? See, in life, we have two options. We can choose what we want to hear, and us as human beings, we have to feed our clients the information. If we don't, the news does, and we lose. So I'd like to congratulate over 200 plus people on this Zoom call today. And we're just learning how to leverage this and take it to the next level because you guys care, A, how to take advantage of the stimulus package, and B, how can you help your clients? And that being said, I want to bring in Howard next. Noah and I know Howard very well. He's a tax expert, AKA he's a heck of a tennis player too. So if you like to play tennis on this Zoom call, doubles, man, he is wicked. And I can play tennis. He is good. How are you, Howard?
I'm well. I'm good on the old man tennis. Thank you.
I love it. I love it. So Howard, we got a lot of people on the call today. We have over 200 people on the call, and the number's climbing here right now. Before we open up the questions, can you tell us what you know about it, what we as realtors can take advantage of the stimulus package? There's a lot of different rumors going out there. I'd like to, number one, just start, what can the realtors take advantage of?
Okay. So this stimulus package came out last Friday. It's very comprehensive. There's a lot of things in there for various people, especially there's some good stuff in there for real estate agents, real estate businesses. The biggest thing is the Payroll Protection Act. That is $390 billion of money, which you can apply for a loan. If you use that money for payroll and certain overhead items, you can have that loan forgiven. So you need to make application. The application is going to be, the first day it's going to be accepted is this Friday, April 3rd. It is based on if you have a business with employees. It's based on the payroll for the prior 12-month period, plus some benefits, plus some payroll taxes that were paid. If you're a self-employed independent contractor filing a Schedule C on your tax return, you qualify. You qualify up to a maximum of $100,000 based on your bottom line net income that reported on your 2019 tax return. It's approximately a 20% loan based on that bottom line. If you take that 20%, so if you made, let's say the max is $100,000, you made $150,000 on your tax return this year, you can get up to 20% of 100,000. If you made 75,000, 20%, you would get a forgivable loan of $15,000. Once you get that loan, you can use that to pay yourself, pay your rent, pay your business rent, your cell phone bill, any of your business, certain business overhead expenses. So it's specific as to what you can spend it on, but it's really beneficial on what you can really get this money and have it forgiven. You need to spend that money within an 8-week period. And after you've spent that money, the bank is going to require that you give them verification of what you spent and to make sure it's qualified expenditures. The loan, the loans are being taken by almost every bank in the city. The banks all have a different application. So if you want to apply for these, number one, if you filed your tax return for 2019, you want to pull out your Schedule C form and your Schedule SE form. If you look on your Schedule SE form, that number will probably be the amount that the loan's based on. There's some paperwork like any other bank application, but it's, from what I've seen, it's a very simplified loan application. They're not going to ask for a normal mortgage loan application. Really, they just maybe need a copy of that Schedule C. You need to fill out 2 pages of information that are very, very basic. They're not doing a credit application. They're not doing a credit check. They're not doing any other sort of credit monitoring up front. So first thing you want to do, get your information together. Second, contact your bank that you want to work through. See what their form is, get a copy of it, see if you can fill it out online. Right now, it's so new that the banks are scrambling to get their documentation together. First day that they're accepting them is Friday. So I've seen about 5 different banks with about 5 different loan applications. The information is going to be the same. It's just how they're going to ask for that information. Once you get the money, they're going to direct deposit it, I think, into your bank account. Spend it. Within 2 months, you're going to have to give the bank your backup on what you spent. Once they approve the backup, that loan is forgiven. If you don't have backup, if you don't spend the money, that loan will be a regular loan charging an interest rate of 4% with interest not starting until January of next year. There's a lot of information in there. Maybe, Jeremy, you want to take some questions or thoughts, and I can sort of, answer as best I can.
Yep. So question 1, Howard, I did not file my 2019 taxes yet. Can I, if I made $100,000, can I still get my 20 grand because I get 20%?
Yes, you can. What the bank is going to look for is a profit and loss statement. Profit and loss is your income with a list of all your expenses broken down by category. So your income, you know what it is, that'll be for 1099. Your expenses are your cell phone, your car, the normal things you use to get your tax return. They will accept that profit and loss statement. However, I would say that that profit and loss statement is what you should use when you actually file your tax return, because they're going to be confirming the information down the road, and they may ask for that tax return to make sure you're not saying you made 100 when you only made $30,000. So they will, from what I've seen, they are asking for a tax return or a profit and loss statement. However, I would say that if you can get your tax return done or to a point of being done where it's close to being right, that's probably going to be better for you.
And why do you say that, Howard? Maybe someone made some more money in 2019 compared to 18, or why?
No. It's, the rule is the calculation is based on the prior 12-month period. So 2018 doesn't come into play for this calculation. Only your past 12 months, or I believe they'll accept your 2019 tax return, which is the 12-month period from January to December. But for businesses, the rules are it's the prior 12 months, which would be April 1st to March 31st. So if you do a financial statement, a profit and loss, it's probably going to be easier and faster to use the 2019 information. You just want to make sure that your bank will accept that. If they won't, then you got to go back and do April to March.
Okay. So it's going to be either your 2019 tax return or a profit and loss statement. You would prefer a 2019 tax statement over a profit and loss.
I think that's what a bank would prefer, and that might make it easier and quicker for you to get your money.
Okay. And you mentioned, I have another question, Schedule C. Where does that come into play? They want to know.
Okay. When you get paid at 1099, if you're unincorporated, when you file your taxes, the form that's used is called Schedule C for self-employment income. So if you look at your tax return, you'll have a front page, and then behind there, there is a form that says self-employment income, Schedule C. So if you have filed taxes before and you're a real estate agent and you're getting a 1099 in your name, you'll have that form in your tax return.
Okay. How about the loan? The next question, you mentioned something about a loan. The 3.75 or 4%. What was that loan?
Okay. Well, there's two programs right now. One is the SBA came out with a loan application that's not forgivable. That loan is at 3.75%. However, in that application, there is a $10,000 grant. That grant is forgivable. The other program is the payment protection plan that's all forgivable. So you really want to do first that payment protection loan before you do the SBA emergency loan. However, you can do both. If you get the $10,000 grant, that'll reduce whatever you're forgiven on the payroll protection loan.
Oops, I was on mute. Sorry. So individual agents we're talking about right now. We're not talking about teams. We will get the teams here in a couple minutes. We're talking about individual agents right now.
Okay.
That being said, Howard, one of the questions I'm getting from people is expenses, or what can they spend the money on? Is there a sheet that they have to spend that money on 8 months? I heard mortgage. Could it be fees for brokerages? Like, what can it be? What can it be?
Well, you have 8 weeks to spend the money, so 2 months. It's the way the law says salary, which is paying yourself, interest on a business loan. So if you have an office in your home, portion of that can be deductible. Cell phone, business utilities. So it's got to be business expenses. It can't be your personal expenses. So you can't pay your personal mortgage, but the way I see it, you could pay yourself and then that qualifies, and then yourself can pay your mortgage. So in essence, I believe you're going to be able to have most of that loan forgiven.
So pay yourself, Howard, and then pay the expenses, what you're saying?
Correct.
Okay. Next question. Howard, does it matter if I'm set up as an individual person filing my taxes versus an LLC and versus an S Corp?
Okay.
To get this
it definitely makes a difference. There's two ways you would file. If you're an S Corp, you file a separate return, and on there, you're probably an employee of the S Corp. If, as being an employee, the only thing that qualifies in the S Corp is what you paid yourself as a W-2 salary. So you would be limited to that W-2 salary versus the total amount that you received. So for example, you received $150,000 of commissions going into your sub-S corporation. You then paid yourself $75,000. Only the $75,000 qualifies for the 20% forgivable loan. The gross amount does not. On the Schedule C, the net income is what qualifies. On an LLC, it depends whether you file it as a Schedule C LLC or a sub-S LLC. If you're a sub-S, it's the wages that you took. If it's a Schedule C, it's the bottom line self-employment income.
All right, so I'm getting a whole bunch of questions and text messages back on this. I just want to ask it from my perspective to see I can repeat it so they can understand too. And I'm a little confused too. So that being said, if it's an individual agent and they file their taxes as Bob Jones and they made $100,000, what can they get?
It depends. If when you say they made $100,000,
they showed a net. They showed a net of 100,000.
They can get 20% of $100,000, $20,000.
Okay. Let's go to second scenario. They are set up as an LLC and they made $100,000 net. How much can they get?
All right. So an LLC can file as a sole proprietor or as a subchapter S corporation. Okay. So an LLC is kind of an unusual, the way it's taxed is unusual. So you'd have to see how you're doing it. So an LLC filing as a sole proprietor made $100,000, they would get 20%, $20,000.
Okay. And an S Corp?
And an S Corp, you would have to look and see what salaries were paid to the shareholders, and you would get 20% of that. So let's say the company paid a salary, a W-2 salary to the owner. They would get 20% of that.
Okay, great. That I explained it. Next question. If they are a W-2, can you ask him if it applies if you're a W-2?
If you're a W-2, this does not qualify. You cannot get anything as a W-2 employee.
Okay.
From somebody else, from your own company, you would apply in your own company and get the loan. Okay.
So right now we're going to go individual agent. I'm just going to go through everything individual agent. Then I'm going to go team and then company. Right? We'll just work up the ladder. Expenses. I'm getting this question again. Expenses like a computer. I think that's something obvious. It's going to be expense if you need to get that for your business, right?
That is not a refundable expense.
Oh.
What I can do is after we're done, I'll provide you guys a list of what is currently listed as allowable expenses to reduce the loan, or increase the forgiveness on the loan.
That'd be fantastic.
Okay.
Great. All right. So next question. If I get a 1099 from various sources does it flow through an individual? I think we individual tax return limiting us to one loan, or can it be broken up? So they have, if a person has 1099 from various sources, does it flow through our individual tax return limiting us to one loan, or can it be broken up?
No, the 1099s are accumulated on an individual's tax return on one Schedule C. They would apply for one loan.
Okay.
But it would be based on the total of all three 1099s.
Okay. If you're an S corp paying yourself $50,000 and you're paying an admin a salary, can I take 20% of both salaries?
Yeah, yes, you can. You can take 20% approximately on every salary that you pay. Every W-2 employee that you have qualifies.
All right. And Donovan, this is Howard Siegel. This is my accountant. This is Noah's accountant. So people are asking who you are. We'll get his information out afterwards if you're interested. Just to clarify, if an LLC is filing a sole proprietor, is a 20% net of Schedule C or gross?
Net. Bottom line. What you're paying taxes on.
If we get 10, all right, just answer that. What if we have two businesses? We just kind of answered that. It has to flow through the individual, right? They have two businesses, for example, two S corps. That's going to be like the same thing.
Well, two S corps is a different animal.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Two S corps could be two separate loans, depending on the employees of each of those sub-S corporations. So every business that has employees should apply.
How much do I know how much I can pay yourself if the amount you make each month is different? I believe the person's asking that question. You have to look at the last 12 months. You don't look at the monthly basis. You look at the last 12 profit loss or your 2019 tax return. Is that correct?
Well, the calculation is based on the average monthly salary multiplied by 2.5 times. So if in the prior 12 months you netted $50,000, you would divide that by 12. So let's say it's $4,000. Multiply that by 2.5 months, you would get $10,000 loan.
Okay. Looking forward to hearing if anyone has submitted an SBA loan for $10,000 in additional monies from Paycheck Protection. That's a different topic, right?
Well, there's two programs. The one, you're talking about two different loan programs there. One is the SBA loan application with the $10,000 grant. We have done some of those in our office, and clients have gotten that $10,000. The second application is the payment protection. If you get the $10,000 from the SBA, and you can get the payment protection loan, but it's reduced by whatever you get on the grant portion of the loan, of the first one.
Okay. All right, next question is, someone said, zero income right now, unemployment method might be easier, taking an extra $600 a week top off weekly payment. So I think we've answered everything individually as an agent. So it's really going to come down to, Howard, it's to summarize before we move on to the teams. One is the income they've made, right?
Correct.
Over the last 12 months. Two is going to be what is allowable on expenses or not.
Correct. And remember, the expenses are used to calculate how much of that loan is forgiven.
Okay.
Okay. And the calculation to get the loan is based on the prior 12 months, net income.
Net.
Correct. So get the loan first, then how much of it is going to be forgiven versus how much are you going to have to pay back.
So they get that loan, they get the $20,000. And they say, okay, you only can get 15. They would have to pay the 5,000 over a period of time on that percent of interest, right?
Yes, exactly.
It's 10 years?
I think so. Yeah, I'm not exactly sure the loan provisions, because I believe that most people are going to be able to get the whole amount forgiven.
Okay. So now we understand you have your income source we just talked about. Second, we just talked about is what is expensable most likely. Third, we're going to talk about you have to spend it within 8 weeks, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And we also talked about where to go get it, which is your local bank, right?
Correct.
All right.
Or, if you don't have local banks, I can help you, put you in touch with people who are doing it. Pretty much all banks are doing this, but everybody's going to be really busy.
All right. Someone just asked, what about unemployment benefits?
I'm not quite certain yet. I'm going to have to get back to everybody on that as to how unemployment benefits work for the agents, as well as the new $600 additional unemployment.
Alyssa, I know you're listening to this. If you could mark that down, unemployment benefits, and then what qualifies and doesn't qualify, we'll summarize at the end.
Yep.
Is there a list of expenses? Okay, you just said that. I spoke to Wells Fargo, and they directed me to an application link on an SBA website. They said as of yesterday, applications are going to be going through SBA directly.
Well, I'm not sure how each bank's going to handle it, but the forgiveness loans are through the bank. They are not available until April 3rd, which is Friday. The current SBA emergency loan that's out there does go through SBA, not through the bank. So I believe it's going to be through the bank for the forgivable loans.
Okay.
So you got to ask for the forgivable versus the grant money, if we can call that, differentiate them that way.
So there's the 20 grand forgivable loan. And then people are asking me, can you explain one more time the $10,000 grant?
Okay, the grant is an SBA application. You go into the SBA website, you apply for a loan/grant. If you're accepted, that's a grant, not paid, not required to be paid back. If you then apply for the payroll protection loan and get $20,000, they're gonna take $10,000 of that because you've already gotten the grant. So you're only going to be able to get $20,000 total forgivable loan.
That was the next question they were asking. So good. Okay. I was 1099 contract for another industry other than real estate during 2019 tax year. Can I apply for the loan and use the proceeds for my real estate career?
If they filed a Schedule C and had a profit there, they'd be able to get 20% on any income that you earn, that you pay tax on. Doesn't matter if it's real estate, you could be as long as you're an independent contractor and filed a Schedule C and paid your taxes, you qualify.
What about using the conjunction with the EIDL monies? Sure.
That's that's that grant program we're talking about.
Gotcha. Okay, gotcha. I think that's everything for individual. Let's go now to let's start with one agent with one assistant. What do they get?
Depends how they file. If they're a sole proprietor, they would get 20% on their employees' money, the W-2 that they paid out, and 20% on their net bottom line, up to 100. However, if they paid somebody as a subcontractor, not a W-2, subcontract wages do not qualify for the payroll protection plan. And then the subcontractor that received the money, they would be able to apply.
Okay.
You get that differential, Jamie?
Yep. So basically the employees versus 1099, it's called Bob Jones. W-2s are assistant, and they would get 20% for the employee and then 20% for their actual net what they would make if they W-2'd them. If they
Correct.
did not.
And like I said before, the employee of Bob does not get anything in this program.
Yep.
Let me jump in with one more question before you move on, Howard. Now, there's another program that's not specific for businesses where individuals earning, let's say, under 100,000 can get money as well. So it's $1,200 or $2,400 for married couples, plus, $500 per additional kid. Can you talk about that and if, how that applies here and if you can get
My understanding currently is that's a separate and distinct loan. It's not a loan. It's just a rebate. It's a refund. It doesn't offset any other refunds you're supposed to get. It's just a check in the mail. If you're single and you make under 75, you get 1,200. Up to 100,000, it's reduced. So if you make 101,000 and you're single, you don't get anything. You make 99,000, you might get $100. Same for a married couple, that threshold's 150, and it phases out up to $200,000. So if you're married and you filed your tax return, you made 140, you're going to get a check for 2,400 plus 500 for each child. They're looking at either your 2018 return. They're looking at your 2018 return if your 2019 is not filed. If your 2019 return's filed, they're looking at that. If you haven't filed yet, they're going to look at 2018. If you made under that 75,000, you're going to get $1,200. If you have a choice, and let's say in 2018 you made more than you did in 2019, you may want to file your 2019 immediately so you get to $1,200.
I know the answer. They're not running credit, are they?
No credit.
So you have an individual agent. They have one assistant. If they set them up as a W-2, 20% to the net of the agent, 20% for the employee is what they're getting back. If they 1099 them, it's going to be up to the individual 1099 person to then go. And what rights do they have now, Howard?
Same as the assistant's the same as an agent. Okay. They file a Schedule C, whatever their bottom line is, 20%.
Now, what happens if that person, I have another person asked, is if it's an individual agent and they have a W-2 employee, that money that they're getting towards that employee, what do they have to spend it on? How's it have to go? What do they have to do?
They have to spend it on, I'm going to get you that list, but it's got to be paid on wages. So you can pay that employee, utilities, interest on a loan, cell phone, or wages to the owner.
Okay. So wages is one of the things, obviously. Marketing, Zillow, Truly ads. I mean, we'll get that to that list. That's, it'll tell us, right?
That is probably not going to qualify. You can spend it, but it won't qualify for the abatement of the loan. Okay. So you can get to 20,000 and spend it all on advertising. That doesn't reduce any of the amount you owe. You'll still owe the 20, but you will have the government paying your advertising for you.
How about towards a brokerage if they have, a split difference? Can they use it in that case as an expense?
Nope.
Okay. All right. Now they have an agent, an assistant, and an agent underneath them. That agent underneath them, right? That one agent, are they only getting their 1099, and does the leader of that team get anything for that agent? I've heard mixed things.
I need to understand the structure a little bit. So the leader is paying the agent?
Let's say they do $1 million in commissions, come in, gross commissions.
Okay.
They pay out the agent A $200,000.
So they're paying them as a 1099.
Yes.
They get no benefit of that payment.
Jeremy, remember the payment comes from the brokerage, not from the leader of the team.
Yep. So people are asking if they get that difference. They don't. It's only what they make, not what the agent made on their team.
Correct. The agent gets the benefit of what they got paid.
What percent can be expenses versus salary? It isn't.
There's no definitive number of expenses versus salary.
Okay. Man, these messages are popping in. Hold on. I got 29 new messages just since I'm going through the other ones. Unemployment benefits we're going to talk about again later. Someone just said that you three are very good looking. That's very nice. Thank you for the compliment.
Thank you.
You paying yourself, you usually don't get what percent expenses versus salary. We answered that. Schedule E, S Corp. 2019, my assistant was 1099. I switched her W-2 as of 2 weeks. Should I use 2019 taxes or April 31st to March 1st, where salary qualifies expense? Great either way. So I think that answers it, what we just said.
Say that again, Jeremy.
In 2019, my assistant was a 1099. I switched her to a W-2 2 weeks ago. Should I use the 2019 taxes or April 31st to March 1st? Or salary?
Well, I think what you would want to do is you want to calculate the bottom line on each one to see which one was higher. So let's say in 2019 you made 50,000, but for the 12 months 4/1 to 3/30 you made 75,000. You would want to apply with the 75,000 to get more of the loan. But as far as that payroll, if you only hired them a few weeks, it's going to be very small. It's not going to help you that much.
So you think use the last year?
Well, I think it depends. I think you've got to look, if you have the time and the records available, you want to calculate, see which one works best for you. And we still need to see what the bank is going to ask for. The bank may, the law says the previous 12 months profits. The bank, it's kind of vague whether it really meant the prior, 2019 return. The SBA loan is saying 2019, and the Act says prior 12-month period. So if you have your records available, I would look and see which is more beneficial for you, and then double check with your bank what their requirements are.
Here's a good question. Do you have to spend the complete amount in 8 weeks? And if you don't, let's say you spend 15 to 20, 5,000's left. That is when you do that 10-year loan or whatever that loan is at that 4%. 3%.
That's exactly right. They got it. Whatever qualifying expenses aren't spent, it turns into a loan. Now, if you haven't spent the money, maybe you want to pay it back. If you need the money, it's available, and you don't have to start paying interest on it till the beginning of next year.
Real quick, hold on real quick. Before we move on to the questions and before people drop off the call, Howard, I just want to put your contact information in the chat box. So if people want to have you do this for them or have more questions, who should they contact from your office? I'm going to put
they can contact me or my associate Sam. Do you want me to send out my email address? How do you want to do it?
Yeah, give us, if Sam's on the call, Sam, if you could put the contact information in the chat box so everybody knows how to get in contact with you guys. And then I'll let Jeremy keep going. I wanted to do that before people drop off.
Next question is, why is my brokerage not doing this? Well, the answer on that is that's why you need to talk to Noah and I. So, we can discuss what we're doing differently and helping people right now. So that's a good question. Is Howard handling these applications for his clients for a fee?
It's so new until we see the time involved to make the applications. I really can't talk to the amount of the fee, but we are doing this for every one of our clients.
Okay.
All I can say is anybody who has a business, who's an independent contractor, who has employees, should do this, must do this. This is money that's pretty much free money that the government's putting out there to help everybody. And if you don't, if you feel bad about taking money, I understand, but this is something I think everybody's entitled to. All our businesses have been affected. And if you have it, you got to do it.
If you file an LLC, do you have to take out taxes on the amount you pay yourself for the amount to be forgivable?
Probably not. Probably not.
Okay.
Because the forgiveness of the loan is tax-free.
What if you're an S corp paying yourself $50,000, paying an admin salary? Should an SBA loan or payroll protection program? Which one should they do?
Well, I think the payroll protection loan beats it 99 times out of 100. The difference is on the payment protection loan, it's forgivable. So even if you get less money and it's forgiven, it's better than having a loan that you got to pay back. So I would do the payment protection first. And then if you want to apply for additional funds out of the SBA loan, do it that way. But forgivable money is much better than money you got to pay back.
What if I have no employees? Still, can I get a loan to pay yourself?
If you filed a Schedule C, you can get a loan. If you filed a sub S corp and took no salary and didn't pay any Social Security tax, then you're not going to get anything.
So you have to pay yourself a salary within that income to be able to do that?
Correct.
Okay. Is there an income limit on W-2s from an S corp? Is there an income limit on W-2s from an S corp?
So if you're calculating, you have a business and you have employees, you can only count up to $100,000 of the employee's wages to apply for the loan.
Yep.
So if you paid somebody $150,000, when you go for a loan, you can only use $100,000 and the employer would get 2.5 times their monthly pay.
Applications are available on Friday. How long is this window open and how long will it take to get the money?
Well, it's an unknown. Like I said at the beginning, they have $390 billion. I don't think that's enough. I think there's going to be a lot more money that's going to be applied for. I would want to get my clients filed as soon as possible. And then I think, they're really moving pretty fast. I mean, the act was finalized on Friday and they're accepting loans a week later. That's, in government speak, that's flying. And I think they're going to try and get this money out really quickly. And I've heard, the money gets back in a week. I'll believe it when I see it, but I think you want to apply and you want to apply as soon as possible.
All right. The Philly grant has ended. Only had like 9.5 million total. Same with PA. And Delaware company, but work in Philly. So is that true? And Philly grant has ended already?
That's my understanding. And for the Pennsylvania grant, it was loaned out. It was handled by each county. And I heard the other day Montgomery County was done. I don't know about the other counties.
So is that the 10 grand?
No, the 10 grand is the SBA EIDL loan.
What's the grant they're talking about?
That was in the city of Philadelphia, I think.
That's
but 9.5 million. It's nothing.
Okay, so that's something different, totally different than we're talking about. We talked about the $20,000 and we talked about the $10,000 employment. That's something totally different.
Correct. The state had a program and the city had a program.
Okay.
You can apply for it, but I think first things first, you want to do this forgivable one.
All right. And the $10,000 one, someone's asked me, that's called the employment one, right?
Yes. And
then what's it called?
20 is payroll protection.
Is it 20K? Okay. If you have 6 W-2 employees and 2 of them you put on temporary leave and hire them back at the end of the year, is this still forgivable?
It's only forgivable for what you spend during the 8-week period subsequent to getting the loan. And there's also some provisions if you had 8 people and you only brought back 4 people, you may be limited on how much of that loan is forgiven.
So Howard, I have 5 employees. I'm going to let them go because they can get $600 unemployment. I'll hire them back in 2 weeks, and then I will get that loan for the 8-week period of payment forgiveness. Is that?
Well, you want to apply now to get the loan. It's what I would say, or as soon as possible. You're going to have that money. You have 8 weeks to spend it. So if these people are not on the books for 2, and then you bring them back on, that 6 weeks may not equal 100% of your loan because you base the loan on full payroll. So
is that something different than we talked about?
We've been talking about mostly self-employed individuals versus businesses with W-2s.
Okay. So now we go businesses with W-2s. Let's go into businesses. It seems like a lot of questions now are going businesses. Now businesses, they get 100% back of their W-2 employees for 2 months?
No. The rule is you take your prior 12 months payroll, gross payroll, plus any benefits, group medical that you paid for your employees. You take the annual, divide it by 12, that gets you a monthly average payroll. So for example, let's say your payroll is round numbers, $1.2 million annual payroll. Your monthly pay is $100,000. You would take the monthly pay times 2.5. So that company would be allowed to get a loan for $250,000. Once they receive that loan, they have to spend the money that they spend on salaries, benefits, rent, utilities, internet and phone, interest. Any money that they spend reduces that $250 and is forgiven. So if they borrowed $250 and they spent $200,000 in that next 8-week period, the 200 of the 250 would be forgiven. 50,000 would be a loan they'd have to pay back at 4% interest.
And Howard, that initial calculation of payroll, does that include bonuses as well?
Anything that's on their W-2. So that should include everything, bonuses, commissions, whatever you're putting through the payroll.
Includes medical insurance, benefits, disability.
Well, medical insurance is, if you pay for their medical insurance, it's includable. If they pay for it themselves, it's not includable.
Say that last part, the last sentence that someone just asked that.
Okay, so medical insurance, if you're a company that has employees, you can add to your payroll base whatever you paid on behalf of your employees. If they pay their own medical insurance, you can't add that in.
Gotcha. They pay half, you pay half, you can get your half.
Exactly. That half can be added to that $1.2 million to increase your calculation.
How about company-wise? What have we not mentioned about companies yet?
Well, companies are the same. It all depends on how you're structured as to your employees or your independent contractors. Employees are treated one way. From the company perspective, the independent contractors handle it on their own.
And there's a limit up to how much on a company they can get?
There's no limit. $10 million is the limit.
Okay.
But it's based, if you pay an employee $150,000, you can only include 100 in your calculation.
What would I go to see unemployment benefits if I am the only employee? 20,000 basically be the max.
I'm not, like I said, I'm not quite up to speed on unemployment for Pennsylvania unemployment. Normally it used to be that the owner of a company couldn't qualify for unemployment. I don't know with the new world what's happening with the unemployment.
I don't have many expenses, therefore I won't get much for this loan that's forgivable. Are there other programs available to help cover personal expenses?
There's that $1,200 you can get. And right now I'm not really, focused. There's none that I know of that are really on a personal only basis.
The person that asked that question, though, you can still take your net income from last year and get 20% of that back. So you would still qualify for that. And I believe that was Andrew that asked that question, but you could still qualify for that. So you'd still get a significant amount based upon your earnings from last year.
All right. Would like the need to compare the unemployment benefits based. So Lauren, okay, so this is your group answering the question. Great. Is there anything else, Howard, and I'm going to ask anybody in the call, we still have a boatload of people on here. Is there anything else that you guys have a question on right now before we end this? I'm going to give you guys a minute to ask.
Well, Jeremy, I have a question. Is anybody out there try to collect unemployment? And were they successful?
I haven't seen anything yet. No one said anything yet.
Okay, just if they know, they can let me know.
I've applied, but I haven't heard.
Okay.
The unemployment for independent contractors opens Friday. So unemployment for independent contractors opens Friday. Just came in at 11:07.
Howard, I have a question. Okay. What if we have brand new agents that maybe have not made anything or not made much in real estate, yet they had a job previously, whether it's 1099 or W-2, where they made money? Would last year's income qualify even though they haven't made anything recently?
If they have a W-2 only, it doesn't qualify. If they have a 1099 independent contractor, that would qualify.
Okay. Even if it's in a different industry?
I believe it qualifies.
All right. If you apply for unemployment, can you cancel that out and then apply for this instead?
You can always cancel unemployment. You can always call them up and say, I don't want the unemployment anymore.
And then Howard, you and I talked about this yesterday, but I think it's an important question to put out to the group. What if you have a W-2 salary and you're also a real estate agent that collects 1099 income? How does that work?
You could qualify on your 1099 income. Your employer would qualify on the W-2 income.
Yep. So only the 1099 income that you earn would go towards this. The W-2 would not be counted towards this.
Correct.
So I got Facebook blowing up too. Good thing I didn't go on Instagram too. But another question is, I was trying to just watch on Zoom, but now I just got a heads up. You need to look at your Facebook plus my text. We pay monthly medical benefits outside of our payroll. We pay our monthly. Paul, what do you mean by that? We pay monthly medical benefits outside of our payroll. I would assume that. Howard, what does that mean? We pay monthly benefits. Paul, I know you're listening. Just ask me that question again. I'll get you an answer on it. I take from talking to you before, Howard, whatever the employer pays, that's what they can get back in that amount. And
correct.
If the individual person pays the other half, they can get that back as an expense?
No. Well, if are they an independent contractor or an employee?
Employee.
If they're an employee, they can't get anything back.
Gotcha. Direct check. We pay monthly medical benefits outside of payroll. Direct check. Why do you do that, Paul? Pay insurance and additional payroll, it sounds. Anything good for landlords besides the one-off mortgage deferral? This is Mike asking. He's asking anything good for landlords out there. I know you're a real estate investor. It's one reason why we work with you. Anything good with landlords besides one-off?
I just applied for one of those SBA grant loans. I did it yesterday. Haven't heard back yet. I think there's a chance that you can get that $10,000 grant. You cannot get any of the payroll protection because you don't have any payroll. I'm not sure about I'll find out in the next day or two how that the SBA looks at that.
How do you provide proof to the bank that you're using PPP amount as salary if you don't pay yourself a W-2?
Your Schedule C.
Yep.
Or your profit and loss statement.
That benefit question coming back, I don't pay it through payroll. I use TASC. Do you know what that is?
I don't.
I don't know, Paul. I'm not sure, man. Anybody else? Last questions. Howard.
One of the questions, Howard, was for the agents that are taking this. Can this be used? You said it could be used for office rent. Can it be used for desk fees, for the broker fees, for that type of stuff? E&O insurance.
The act says rent. Now, you and I we can talk and we can, discuss what the definition of rent is.
Well, for the agents at KW Philly, they all have desk rent. They have rental rent.
Well, if they have desk rent, then
I know that would qualify for sure for the agents at KW Philly. What about desk fees, E&O insurance? Those.
Well, right now, insurance isn't on the list. Rent, utilities, internet, cell phone are on the list.
Okay.
So if we can, we'll talk about it, over the next couple of days, Noah.
Yep.
Is it true the SBA grant is also forgivable?
The grant is forgivable. See, the SBA loan, you could borrow $1 million from the SBA. Only $10,000 of it is a grant that's forgivable.
This just came in. Expenses covered start once you get the money. Or example, could it cover April 1 office, blah, 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 already paid?
It's when you get the money.
Okay. Andrew, is royalties at franchises considered an expense?
Royalties and franchises?
So if you work for a big company, you pay 6% franchise fee.
That one's not on the list.
Okay. This just came in. Jeremy, Howard, and Noah, can you do this every day? On the tennis court.
Tell them in a few months, I'll be happy to do it.
Any indications on time from application distribution of funds?
Same thing. Up in the air, no guarantee. They're talking about really quickly.
All right, Al, you can come in. You can play. Noah and Al versus me, and we'll win. Who else? I'm in for tennis. Me and Howard versus you two.
Okay.
Anybody else? Last call. We're going to close this down. We appreciate all you guys. This is what we're doing on a weekly basis. We're doing 10 to 15 events per week for our agents. Why? If your company's not pivoting right now, if your company's not changing, we're going to be behind the times. Our company has already been ahead, and we're taking another step above that with me, Noah, and the group making adjustments. And this is the kind of things we're providing. And right now is the right time to be talking to some people like us because we can help you guys in this time of need. So I appreciate everybody getting on. We have over 200 plus people on the call today, which is just crazy. We had one account, Howard, that got to 100. It froze, so we had to get a newer account to get more. So this is great. Thank you so much. I'm getting text messages and Facebook messages now. If anyone in arrears paying, all right, one last question. If you're in arrears paying an admin salary due to this, can you use the PPP funds only for their current salary?
It's a 12-month look back. So if you didn't pay it, you can't include it.
Well, but however, you can make that up in the next 8 weeks.
Well,
you can it now.
You can use the loan amount.
You can increase people's salaries.
Absolutely. You can give somebody a bonus on week 7. You know, there's no rules right now on anything really. And some of these rules are going to be coming out over time. And as soon as I understand them and they come out, I'll let you guys know.
And if you guys are watching this, it's going to be recorded on Facebook Live. We're going to take it from Zoom. We'll put it into YouTube. We have a couple more meetings like this today. We have Trend, the Vice President of Trend, getting on today and talking to us how times have changed, what you can do with laws and regulations. That's another good class. If you just go on KW Philly's public page, it's a white background with KW on it. It'll have a list of all week's classes, and every day, click on the link. You can work at any brokerage and come to it. And then we have private ones that for people that don't work at the brokerage too, but those won't be on the public page. This is very helpful. Investor Workshop 12 to 1 today. Join me. So Howard, just sit from the, thank you, man. I really, really appreciate you getting on today. I appreciate everything you do. I've been extremely lucky to know you. And once again, I always say the 5 people you hang out with can make a difference in your life. And the only reason why I know you is because of Noah. But when I did want to meet you, then I looked at my phone. You were in there like 5 times as referral sources from people. So that was pretty cool.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity. Appreciate everybody's time. And I would say get this stuff filed as soon as you can. I think, time is of the essence. Focus on this, get it done. And forgivable money is the best kind of money.
You'll be hearing from me shortly. Thank you.
All right, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks. Bye.